How's it going, guys? And welcome to your SmackDown review. So, a little different. This week, I actually watched the full show. The other thing is the past few videos where we've been doing like synopsises and stuff like I actually had to go back and watch full promos because the annoying thing is WWE's like official videos that they post to YouTube, they always like give you half the promo, and I don't feel like it's right that I'm like reviewing part of a promo. Now, like part of a match, that's fine. I could get a good idea and we don't need to go over because we're not doing like full match reviews. We're reviewing a show and how entertaining it is. So, but this, I did watch the full matches. I was kind of in the mood this week, so you're gonna get a little bit extra. Probably gonna be a little bit longer, but I'm gonna try to get through this and not really bloviate too much on certain things, only where it really matters. So first we start off and we're told that Pat McAfee's not there because he's at the Super Bowl, and it's kind of funny. It really shows that McAfee's so talented. He could just leave this shit at any moment, not give it a second thought. And we're stuck with Corey Graves of all people. And I'm just saying to myself, like, oh my God, what a downgrade that we have to sit through Graves. And, it's not like Graves is the worst commentator of all time, but I've talked about it time and time again. You've got a great commentator here with Pat McAfee. I mean, this guy is excellent at what he does. He makes the show super entertaining, really fun. His sense of humor is just fantastic, and I can't get enough of the guy. He brings so much life into the show. I really do feel like the SmackDown reviews would have been taking some breaks in between if it wasn't for McAfee and him just making the show ever more entertaining. So, first segment, we've got Sonya Deville in the ring, and she wants to suspend Ronda Rousey. She wants to give her a big fine, something like $100,000. And Scrap Heap Adam Pearce, of course, comes out. And, the funny thing is McMahon has been on Raw with Austin Theory, but, he hasn't been there. I think like the past couple of weeks, he's been doing these weird promos, where he's whispering and no one can even understand what the hell he's saying. I don't watch Raw, but I've seen those segments and they're kind of like creepy. And I'm a big Vince McMahon fan, but I mean, I don't know if the guy knows how he looks on TV, like how broken down he's coming across. But McMahon could have like come out here if he's gonna be on there. Instead, we got Adam Pearce, Mr. Bland, Mr. Just generic NPC general manager, not even a general manager, a WWE official. I still can't believe we've come this far, that they've been in power for this long, since 2020, and we're still talking about them, that they're WWE officials. Like, the referees are also WWE officials. Okay, you're an official. I mean, people usually in the corporate world have titles. Whatever happened to, chief of staff and all this stuff? Like, yeah, you don't get that anymore. It's just official. So he comes out, he reads an email from Vince McMahon. How exciting. And, this was also a weird email. This is one of those classic things where WWE just, once again, doesn't make sense, and it's like so easy for them to make sense of this. But so McMahon says that she's gonna pay for her actions, but nowhere in the email does it say where she's gonna pay for her actions. All it goes on to say basically is that if she interferes in Naomi's opportunity for the title against Charlotte tonight, her job will be in jeopardy. Not that she's gonna be fired, just it's gonna be in jeopardy. I don't know what this is. Like, first, Adam Pearce like kind of acts like nothing's going on, then he kind of acknowledges it, and now we're going for a full-blown email. Like, this has been playing out on TV, and it's taken this long, and we've been bored with the stupid jacket on, jacket off stuff. So Naomi comes out, slaps her in the face. She says because McMahon didn't say anything about touching her. So, so we've got that. So Naomi gets her hands on Sonya in something that's not a match. So that was something a little different, but not too exciting. I mean, to open up the show with that, I mean, like, who's watching this and, like, saying, oh, wow, I got to stay tuned? I mean, because we've got Sonya Deville with her bland delivery, and then we've got, Adam Pearce coming out there looking super generic, talking super generic. I mean, we've got NPCs out there, and they're not entertaining anybody. They're not doing anything like that the average viewer is going to stay tuned. I don't get it. Why you'd lead off with this? Los Lotharios beat the New Day because the New Day beat them last week. So, of course, we have to have a rematch and do the 50-50 booking nonsense. Viking Raiders are about to cut a promo, and the Usos attack them and steal their headgear, and we don't see any bit of the Usos again tonight. Nor do we see the Viking Raiders looking for them backstage, trying to get their headgear back. I guess they're going to wait till next week. They're really patient Vikings. Like, this is the thing about the continuity on the show. They do things, and, if you're just like a super casual viewer, and you just, you haven't watched the show in a while, you want to tune in, and you're not like some kind of like freak show like us, like here in the IWC or, YouTube wrestling community here, you're going to think like, okay, like, so they stole their thing and it's on to the next scene, like, and they don't go back to it. All right. And it's like an afterthought. So, like, if it's an afterthought, why even do it? Like, there's no point in it. We've got a sit-down interview here with Michael Cole, so he hightails it to the back. I sometimes I don't get this stuff, like going into the back to do interviews. I know JR did one with Kane. Same thing, Russo will tell you all the time about like contract signings. Like, why do we do it? I get it for variety, but like just about every single time an in-ring face-to-face promo is always going to be better. But, we don't want to get them face-to-face all the time. But there's different ways of doing it. How many times did The Rock used to stand up on the ramp and talk to Triple H? Did we ever have I'm going back and watching the Attitude Era in 2000, this big-ass rivalry with The Rock and Triple H. Not once was there, something, where they're being interviewed individually in the back. It's just, it's just boring. There's nothing to it. It's a sit-down interview. This is not, 60 minutes. This is not, I mean, like, there's no purpose to it, is what I'm saying. I liked sometimes when they would do the split picture-in-picture thing, Bret Hart, and I think, Stone Cold might have done that back in 1997. So there's different ways you could do it, but they're just never that great. So they just come off looking like a waste of time. Heyman in the background sitting behind Roman. I mean, Roman did look cool sitting there. That's the one thing about this guy. The fantastic presence and having him in the dimly lit room did have sort of an effect to it. I don't know, like, where the hell they were with those chairs. Like where are they? I mean, it looked like it was like in somebody's manor. Like somewhere in jolly old England with a big library or something like. I'm like, where is this setting for a wrestling interview? I don't get it. But anyway, you have Heyman sitting back there in the background with like a troll, and and you got Roman cueing him, and Heyman goes, "That's not a prediction, that's a spoiler." And this is the same thing. He makes fun of himself, but like, how many times was he supposed to say the reigning, defending, the whole Brock Lesnar introduction promo? And it's nice to see he's making fun of himself, but he goes right back to doing the same old stale, boring bullshit. I mean, this is the thing about the guy. He does these like introduction things. Like, these are his these are his catchphrases. Like, yeah, there was the New Age Outlaws doing their thing, but I never got how this like caught on to be like a big thing that everybody wanted to hear. And obviously not too many people tune in to hear it. But, okay, it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. Okay, good line, Paul. No, I'm not, I'm not being sarcastic there. It was a good line the first time he said it. But then the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, and now we're up to like, how many times has he said it? Before every single pay-per-view or premium live event, which they can't stop themselves for saying. That sounds seriously like one of the most corporatized things I ever heard. And I know I said like pay-per-view doesn't make any sense because, you don't order these things on pay-per-view anymore. I think they may still be available. They were doing them on the network, but like, who's going to pay $60 for this pay-per-view? When you could just spend $9.99, or people like me that are paying premium Peacock $4.99 because we got carried over from the network, which they originally said they weren't going to do, but it turned out, looking at my billing, that's exactly what they're doing. So that is nice. It's definitely great to have commercial-free wrestling. And they don't even have commercials anyway on the premium live events, but that's just it's not like it's really so much a bad name as it just doesn't fit the tone of of a wrestling event. It doesn't. They need to come up with something better. Like, I don't know off the top of my head. Just think of anything. But this was a decent delivery from Roman. Next question. I like the whole demeanor, but this line here at the end, I'm going to Goldberg. And they zoom in on his face like he said something like, really profound, that I was like, that line is cringe. I'm sorry, it's not the worst line ever, but that was not like a line to zoom in on him and like, ooh, take notice of what he's got to say here, because no, that was not really a good line. It sounded kind of like a little bit, just a little too messy. Goldberg. Yeah, I get it. He wants to dominate Goldberg like Goldberg would dominate an opponent. But it doesn't sound like something the Roman Reigns character would say, or just anyone would say that. If like someone's going to beat me up, are they going to Brad? I don't think so. Maybe not the best comparison, but you get what I mean. It just sounds a bit goofy. Someone saying someone's name twice in a row like that, just not the best way to, if you're going to have like, a one-liner, make it good. Watch some old movies or something like that. Get some ideas. Natalya beat Aaliyah in a dungeon match, and don't get too excited. This was not like the dungeon match that Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart had, where they were actually in the fucking dungeon, in Stu Hart's house. The house that Owen Hart grew up in, where people would be getting tortured in the basement by his dad, which was just such an awesome concept and really a cool match. Something that like everybody should tune in and watch. I mean, that's just a cool fucking match to watch during the Attitude Era. Such a great idea to have something like that. Just a really good novelty match to look back on. But this match, it was just a bunch of like dodges and leapfrogs and like, whoa, like what the hell is going on here? Just a lot of, goofy stuff. And then, it's sharpshooter time. And this has got to be the first time ever I seen somebody tap out during a rope break. Like, does that count? I guess it does. I mean, if you tap outside the ring, that doesn't count. So, like, what? What kind of rules were going on here? But whatever, does it matter? Shyla Lee comes out and, no one gives a fuck because, like, she's seen so sparingly. No one cares about this. And Natalya's world record book and everything. And a very uninteresting story. Aaliyah's a cute girl. I think she's attractive, but this is just, making her the serious wrestler. And, and here you've pretty much just killed whatever momentum she had, like going over on the veteran. She just makes her tap out. Like, aren't they supposed to break the hold? Like, I saw this and I was like, what the fuck? What? Why am I saying that during a wrestling show? I shouldn't be saying what the fuck so many times. I should be going, yeah, this is great, but no, I'm watching something that's just very confusing and perplexing. It doesn't even follow its own logic that it normally would. Rocky Johnson. They were celebrating Rocky Johnson. I think it was his birthday for Black History Month. This snow was a good tribute package. I really enjoyed this. It was very touching. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It kind of gave me a lump in my throat. The Rock. I'm still pissed off at The Rock about the whole Joe Rogan situation. Don't get me started on that shit. Being a real backstabber to Rogan. First making like he's going to be Rogan's friend, and then like some bullshit for someone, saying, "Oh, well, look what Rogan said," and it's like, it's not even the proper context of video of him saying a bad word multiple times, even though he was quoting the word. And The Rock is like, oh, well, this has been a learning experience. And he just turns his fucking back on Rogan. And I guess he's not going on the show. Really disappointed. But The Rock, a good narration, very heartfelt. I mean, he's talking about his father who passed away a few years ago. And this was pretty. I think he passed away at the beginning of 2020. And yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. I thought this was really well done, and the fact that they had the Rock, they got the Rock to narrate it, was fantastic. I don't know if they had this one in the can and they were just holding on to it, but whatever the case may be, it came out really good, and I got to give them credit for that. Johnny Knoxville, this segment right here where he goes into some place. I don't know if this was like WWE headquarters or something. I think it was. And he goes where they have the merchandise, and he sees Sami Zayn's like poster up on the wall, and he uses a Sharpie to write loser. And then he takes one of his t-shirts and he puts it in the wood chipper. And I'm like, okay, like, Johnny Knoxville doing some of the most hilarious shit of all time. You're talking about a big Jackass fan here, and an even bigger Viva La Bam fan. So I love the antics of these guys doing their stunts and their comedy. And, just this right here was like, okay, I'm not entertained. It's nice to have Knoxville there. He's an entertaining personality, but like the stuff they've been doing with him, fake zapping, just with cheesy ass, unrealistic sound effects, and we're gonna get to that in a moment. So we go in the ring, and we've got Sami Zayn, and Boogs is out here, and we've got Corey Graves talking about McAfee sitting on Cole's head and everything like that, which is great. But it would be even better to have McAfee here, but he's at the Super Bowl. He's doing something far more productive than watching this terrible show. But he sure as hell would have made it 10 times better, I guarantee you. I would have also loved to see him during the main event marking out for that. That would have been great. But man, Boogs here looking super fucking jacked. Big ups to that, man. I mean, this guy, like, he is supposed to be the second to Nakamurphy. I apologize, but someone was saying this. It was either on one of my videos or one of our Facebook groups, like the Wrestling Juggernauts. Someone was saying, why is Boogs like there and Nakamurphy's the one holding the title? And I'm going to put my own input on this. Boogs looks like he could fucking kick Nakamurphy's ass, tie him into knots, take his title, no problem. But he's stuck in the sidekick role. And, and I get it. He's supposed to be the guitar guy, and Nakamurphy's the more experienced of the two, but whatever. I mean, this is obviously the star here. And, I got to say, I've said this time and time again. I know there's a lot of people, I see it all the time, that don't like Sami Zayn. People were hoping that Zayn would leave WWE to go to AEW. I have to be perfectly honest. Like, I am entertained by characters that like have this type of personality. That is why I've kind of gravitated to like a lot of people were hating on Danhausen, and I kind of said like, well, this guy kind of checked out his YouTube channel, and I was like, I kind of like the guy. He's entertaining. He has a personality. And you know, he has a character, which I asked for, and it's like, you know, and I like those characters like the Boogeyman and stuff, and you know, it's nice that you know, we've got Sami Zayn here finally finding himself after so many years, as I said on a number of occasions. But this podcast thing is pretty funny. You know, I like how he's interacting with the crowd. You know, the way he was making comments to Boogs and everything. And yes, I will admit that I did catch Corey Graves' reference to Metallica cutting their hair and referencing that to Graves cutting his hair. And at first, I didn't understand what he was saying. He says, like, he was supposed to be And Justice for All, but now he went Load. And I was like, oh, that was a pretty good reference there, Corey. I will admit, man, I know the guy's a metalhead. I don't really care about Graves as a commentator. I don't care for him much. But that was a good line that he had there. That was perfect. I'm surprised that McAfee never got that kind of line in there. He said Freddie Mercury. So I think that Graves actually gave a more accurate depiction there with his little illustration comparing him to Metallica, you know, and all the band members. You know, when Hetfield and everybody cut their hair, I mean, you know, it was pretty jarring to the metal world, but I digress. We could save that for when we do album reviews on Metallica albums, which I probably will do in the future. As I've said, I have big plans for a lot of album reviews, guys. So with that said, what the fuck happened here? Like Nakamurphy saying, you know, have you ever seen Jackass defeated? And I did not understand what he said. I actually went to Wade Keller's PW Torch Report, because that guy writes everything down because he has absolutely no life. So he said, oh, I'm like, is that what he said? That's what I actually did think that I thought he said that. But man, did he say that? Like, and I'm like, oh my God, he has been in the WWE for how long now, and he's still talking like this with the super thick fucking accent that no one, like, is anyone seriously helping him cut promos? Nobody back there? Like I'm saying, you have Jamie Noble back there who used to be able to cut a pretty decent promo, and he was a lower mid-carder most of the time. And you're telling me that guy can't help him out as an agent or something, take him aside and help him with his promos? I guess not. But then you got Boogs grabbing the microphone, and there's like, you know, there's feedback on the mic, and it's supposed to be that he got shocked by the mic, and I'm like, what? How did he get shocked by the mic? How did Zayn set up that trap? There was nothing on the mic. There was nothing strapped to the mic. That, you know, we've got clear shots of the mic, so I don't know how this happened. So it shocked him. He got electrocuted. And I guess they're going to sell this that, like, he can't play the guitar because he's holding his hand or his wrist. And, you know, Zayn takes advantage and also gives the haluva kick to Nakamurphy in the back of the head while he's tending the Boogs. And, you know, the segment was going well until the unfortunate electrocution that made no earthly sense at all. You know, I get it. We were doing the cattle prods a few weeks back. That was bad enough, but now the microphones are shocking people. I mean, what's going to be next? Maybe that should be the match. Maybe it should be like an electrified ring. Remember the electric steel cage match with the Dudleys in TNA? Yeah, maybe we should electrify the whole fucking ring or something, since, you know, we're just getting hard-ons for people getting electrocuted all of a sudden. That was like that was like one skit that Knoxville did, and that's like everything to them now. And that was not even the funniest thing. I don't understand like why they're doing this cheesy ass shit here. But Baron Corbin defeated Cesaro, and first of all, we have to talk about how this was set up. We've got Corbin coming out to the ring. There, we got a commercial break. Then they come back and they're advertising the Elimination Chamber, and Cole's talking about it. And then we get away from that advertisement of the Chamber, and Cesaro and Corbin are already going at it. So he already made his entrance during the commercial break, and they're already wrestling. Like, Cole is calmly talking about the Chamber, like when the Chamber is going to air, and the match has already started. He's like, back on SmackDown, like nothing happened. I mean, Jesus Christ. That's so robotic. That's like so corporate. Well, first I have to finish reading the Elimination Chamber advertisement before we can move on to the match. But the match has already started, Cole. Like, you're not going to talk about what's happening in front of your very eyes? Like, I don't know. Like, I get it. Cole has to do his thing. Cole has to do what McMahon's saying in his ear. McMahon's screaming stuff in his ear every 2 fucking seconds, and he's got to comply. I totally get that. I understand it's not the man's fault. But, come on. You gotta, like, you have to be a bit realistic there. And anyway, how about this? Cesaro wrestling in the main event. Remember the pay-per-view I skipped, or the premium live event before they were calling them that? WrestleMania Backlash. This is how they followed up a big triple threat match between Daniel Bryan and Edge and Roman Reigns with Cesaro. And I said, I'm not watching this because I'm not watching a main event where it's so throwaway that you obviously know there's no way Cesaro was going to Edge can't beat him. Daniel Bryan can't beat him. Kevin Owens is throwing Reigns off a fucking building and he still can't beat him. And so, he never did throw him off a building, but you get what I mean. He threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, couldn't beat him. And you're telling me that Cesaro was going to suddenly just beat him out of nowhere. That was not going to happen, and I think everybody pretty much obviously knew that. So, but here's Cesaro again. And, here's the funny thing. Did someone just notice this? Because they talked about this for the very first time, I believe. Corbin has not lost a match since he became Happy Corbin. And that's actually a pretty interesting statistic. Another interesting statistic that Corbin, I think, himself brought up was no one has kicked out of the End of Days ever in WWE. I don't know if he's talking about NXT, because I don't know. I didn't see all of his NXT stuff. The only stuff I saw from him in NXT was his feud with Austin Aries, where he was, cutting promos on indie workers and indie darlings, which was super entertaining, by the way. Way better than this stuff that he's doing now. But anyway, that it's really interesting that no one's kicked out of his finisher. Like, how did he manage to keep his finisher actually sacred? Like, this is an old art form. This is like something we haven't seen in many a year, but it's impressive. And it shows that, Corbin's came this far and no one's been able to do that. Like, I don't know. I guess McMahon must really like him, or he's talked to the agents and he just told them to go fuck themselves. Like, you're not going to kick out of my big high impact finisher. And it makes the finisher looks credible. So he beats Cesaro basically clean. There was really no shenanigans. So that was pretty interesting. You didn't even have Madcap Moss out there. So it was it really made Cesaro look pretty bad. You're losing to a heel who usually gets help from his heel friend, but he's not even out there. And you were in a world title match early last year. Holy shit. How the mighty have fallen. Anyway, Moss is in the back, and this shit right here with the sword, I forgot to mention this last week. Madcap Moss has had a fucking Real sword. It's not a prop sword, mind you. It's a real sword, if you haven't noticed, stuck in his face. And I'll tell you something. All right, this might not be an original thought, but, you know, Bin Hamin has talked about it a number of times with Stevie Richards on Russo's brand. But man, like, do you guys realize, like, how, like, an accident could occur here that's not even necessary? I've said this time and time again. He's not going to use it as a weapon. He's not going to chop off Moss's head, but he's threatening him with it because he's trying to get out of the match, you know, by seeing the doctor, and he has this black eye, and I'm surprised they don't sell any injuries. Like, I'm surprised we even have Sonya Deville coming out with the sling from the Ronda Rousey, you know, arm breaker. You know, here we're selling the we're selling the Claymore kick, and like no one even sells it like that. So, no, but I guess they needed a little bit of an extra prop there to have him see the doctor. So, yeah, you know, but this, I'll tell you something, it makes Drew look like a bully. Like, isn't the whole thing supposed to be that the heels are supposed to get heat? You know, he's beat this guy up. He's giving him a black eye. He's threatening to cut him to ribbons. Like, what the fuck? Like, you're supposed to be cheering for Drew? Yeah, Drew, cut him to pieces. Like, what the hell? I'm sorry, but like, they don't know how to book faces and heels anymore. Heroes versus villains, and I get it, like shades of gray, but you're like having Drew McIntyre threatening to fucking kill the guy. It's going way too far. This is what I'm saying. This is why I don't see anyone with guns in the ring or anything like that, because it's stupid, because they're not gonna use it. It's, oh my God, that, you know, and like I'm saying, it's accidents waiting to happen. The guy opens his eyes, the sword's like right here. And it's stupid on top. That's what I'm saying. It looks dumb with him carrying around the broadsword, and you're going to have the guy keep it an inch from his face. Goldberg did an interview, and I have to say this interview was pretty good. I liked how Michael Cole, they touched on the fact that Goldberg has critics, that some people don't want Goldberg to have another return. They say it's one return too many. And I like that they weren't oblivious, that they actually, you know, addressed the obnoxious wrestling fans. And yeah, he has, admittedly, as a big Goldberg fan, he has had a lot of returns, without a doubt. And I said it shows. They have not built new stars. They don't know the first thing about building new stars, because every time they start building a star, they knock them back down. Hell, even with Bobby Lashley. Why did we give Big E the title again? For just him to go futz around with Kofi Kingston once more? It made no earthly sense at all. You know, so like, you know, every single time they do something, they take one step forward, they take 3 steps back, and you know, we go right back to where we started. But Goldberg gave a good interview here, and he did kind of work out that Goldberging Goldberg line, that clumsy line, you know, and he did make it sound a little bit better. So yeah, I enjoyed this. Michael Cole having to take another trip into the back. He must have been really tired of doing that shit. That's what I'm saying. Like, they couldn't just have a split screen. I mean, okay, just for formatting purposes. Sheamus going to a NASCAR event. This I kind of liked. I know it's a little thing like, well, you know, why does he like this thing? I'm just saying, it kind of reminded me of like back in the day, we talked about the year 2000 where wrestlers would just be everywhere, late night shows, doing different appearances, being on, you know, Regis and Kathy Lee, just all over the place, all over your TV, showing up at anywhere. And that's what I like to see. So seeing Sheamus there was pretty good, you know. And also, like, a guy looking like Sheamus shows up at a NASCAR event, he's going to get noticed. And that's kind of like that airport mentality. You know, when you walk through an airport, will anyone know who you are? Well, I don't know if they'll know Sheamus, but they'll know that this guy's either a bodybuilder or something. You know, if he's not a fitness influencer, then he's probably a wrestler or some kind of athlete. The main event, I gotta say, I enjoyed this one. Yes, it was long as shit. It was like 20 minutes, but by golly, I gotta say, it was probably the, like, as far as like wrestling wise, there was like really no botches in here. There was some pretty good spots. Like I enjoyed the flow of the match. Charlotte and Naomi putting on a good performance here. You know, after seeing all the nonsense in our matches with Shayna Baszler and Charlotte wrestling Shotzi and all these other jabronis, it was really refreshing to actually see a good women's match. You know, I'm not crazy about women's wrestling, the current form of it anyway. But yeah, this was pretty good. The only thing that I did not like is at the end, there was way too many false finishes once again. And it looked stupid. The rear view kick out, this big like head scissor drives her into the mat, kick out, a couple other moves, kick out, split legged moonsault. There's her other finisher, kick out. Nothing's keeping Charlotte down. I get it, she's dominant. Charlotte hits the what do you call it? Whatever the hell she calls that move, that flipping neck breaker, and that ends the match. And okay, like that's the end right there. I don't know. That was kind of uneventful. I don't, you know, I'm just saying, like, and it made Naomi look like shit. Like, I'm hitting all my moves on you. And Naomi's been built up over the weeks, you know, feuding with Sonya and everything. Oh, we're finally to the big match. And just one move from Charlotte was enough to put her down. That does put her finisher over. But, you know, many people have kicked out of that move from Charlotte, and Naomi setting all her finishers on Charlotte, and she's kicking out of every one of them. Makes Naomi look like shit. But anyway, Sonya comes out at the end. Her and Charlotte start beating down on Naomi. Ronda Rousey comes out to make the save, and Charlotte pulls Sonya Deville out of the ring. So, all right, you know, this show, you know, the interviews with Goldberg and Reigns, decent enough. Not a lot here to talk about. You know, the Sami Zayn segment just got really stupid at the end. I don't understand that. You know, a good main event, overly long, too many false finishes, but a good match. I'm not going to take that much away from it. I don't know. And a passable show, I will say. Lots of shit to get to a decent main event, and you know, and some decent interviews. Is that worth watching SmackDown? Absolutely fucking not. But there you go, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell to get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And if you're not getting the videos in your subscription feed, if you're not getting notified and you've already clicked the bell, then just come to the channel, guys. It's really the best way to see this content. Anyway, guys, see you next time.